Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's AIM webinar, Easily Work with RFID Temperature Sensor Labels. I'm excited to be joined by a panel of industry experts to present today's session: Stefano Bernabovi, the RFID Business Developer at ASYGN; Chris Brown, the RFID Program Director at TSC; and Anurag, Kulshrestha, the President and CEO of ANANTICS. First, before we get into today's topic, I wanted to share a little bit about AIM. AIM is the Industry Association for Automatic Identification and Data Capture Technologies. We serve as a hub for quality resources covering all types of barcode, RFID, and mobile computing information. We also foster new auto ID innovations that stimulate market growth. We encourage you to get involved. If you would like additional information, you can reach out to us at info@aimglobal.org. And then also wanted to go over AIM's antitrust policy. It is the policy of AIM to conduct its operation in strict compliance with the antitrust laws. No AIM activity shall create even the appearance of a violation of the letter or spirit of the antitrust laws. And then just a few other housekeeping notes. All registrants are muted upon entering the webinar, but we still want you to participate. To send a question, you can select the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. Also, a recording of the webinar will be available in the coming days and sent to those that have registered. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Stefano.
Thank you, Bethany. Good morning, everybody. I'm Stefano Bernabovi from ASYGN, Business Developer, and I'm very happy today to present this webinar with Chris and Anu about sensory RFID. Is still a hot topic, and so we will go through all the steps necessary to work with sensory RFID. Most of you, I think, will be very familiar with standard RFID, but we'll try to keep it simple and interesting. So first of all, I'll introduce sensory RFID use cases, and then the chips and tags which allow sensory RFID, how you can create your tagged item thanks to the printer and the encoding system, then how to read and decode those tags, and how to unlock real-time insights thanks to the right software which provides you with the good information. So, first of all, sensory RFID use cases. Well, most of you already very familiar with RFID. You know how RFID is the best among the best technologies for identification. With barcode and QR code, we need line of sight, and RFID allow you to know what you're looking at, where your package is, when he's in this place, and RFID can just simply identify all those items at one time. With one read, you can get 1,000 reads per second. So for track and trace is a well-established technology. It works very well, but what it cannot tell you is how the product that you're looking at is doing. So it is at the right temperature, it is at the right humidity. Imagine food. If you have some meat, some fish, some frozen stuff, you can tell where your package is, but not actually if it stays at the right temperature. So usually what is used is on battery device which can communicate with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So you have to add one of those in your pallet or in your box, but they are very costly and you have to maintain them with battery. So thanks to sensor RFID, we can have both work together, and this is what we call track, sense, trace, because those chip that we are doing at ASYGN, they can give you the temperature and humidity information at the same time that your inventory. So this enable a lot more possibilities. The main vertical that can benefit on this improved traceability are, for example, food freshness. We all know FSMA 204 that will kick in 1 year or two and will be mandatory. So we will need to know the whole traceability of the food, and knowing temperature at given time is very important for restaurant, for markets, for producer, for cold chain, at every step. And then on the pharma side, this is very, very important as well, because vaccines or some drugs which are temperature sensitive or medicine, they really need to stay at given temperature or they are not effective or we have some safety issue. And also sensitive material. We are seeing more and more requests about paper, leather, or even batteries because, but if batteries start having very high temperature, it means that they can take fire and put the whole warehouse at risk. So monitoring of batteries and all kind of material. Just a quick word about ASYGN. ASYGN is a French company and we are chip makers. We do very specialized, very high performance ICs, circuits, targeting radio frequencies, satellite, inertial sensor, edge AI, and of course, what we are talking today, so UHF RFID sensor chip. So the little guy that you see in the middle of the blue dot. So I also have here in my hand, but it's maybe a bit small. So those are inlays produced by Tagios, which feature our chip. So this chip is, of course, batteryless, like most RFID chip, and is perfectly capable of APC Gen 2 protocol, is perfectly compliant, so it will work on your existing infrastructure and on the potentially any infrastructure. So those tags perform like standard RFID. If you don't know that they are able to read temperature, they just act as a standard RFID chip. And then if you know how to unlock the potential, you can read temperature, but also humidity, or strain, or light, or potentially any other sensor that you connect up, to those chip. Just a quick word about the memory bank 01. This is 192 bits, so it will allow for some advanced encoding, but I'm not an encoding expert. This is Chris, so I will end the presentation to him.
Okay, thank you, Stefano. So I'm Chris Brown. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I am the RFID Program Director with TSC. TSC is a top 3 hardware manufacturer in the so-called AIDC space or AIDC industry. AIDC stands for Automatic Identification and Data Capture or Data Collection. In simple terms, it means barcoding and RFID. So we are one of the big hardware manufacturers of barcode and RFID hardware. We've been around since 1991, headquarters in Taipei, Taiwan, but we have offices and staff globally. Next slide, please. Okay, so Stefano has provided us with the tag chip, the sensor chip, and that chip goes into an inlay, which was provided by Tageos, but it could be provided by other inlay companies. And then that inlay gets converted into an RFID label or a tag, as we say. Now we want to do what we call personalization. So we want to personalize that label. Personalization means to print some variable data on there, some specific data, and to encode the tag with a proper RFID encoding. You may be tempted to just encode whatever the heck you want. You think that, oh, I'm I am going to read these tags and only in my own four walls. So you may try to devise your own so-called encoding scheme. Encoding scheme is what you encode to your tags. You cannot devise your own encoding scheme. You must use a standards-based encoding scheme. The reason for this is what we call tag clutter. There are billions of RFID tags out in the world, and billions more are coming into the world every year. So you might have your own, let's say, meat packing facility, and you think only I am going to read the tags, and I'm only going to read them in my own four walls, so I don't care about using a standards-based encoding scheme. No, that's not correct. What you cannot control is tags entering your reading environment. So let's say you have your meat packing facility and everything's working fine one day, but then the next day a package arrives from UPS, and that UPS box has an RFID label on it, and inside the UPS box are 50 coffee mugs that your marketing department ordered, and every one of those fancy coffee mugs has an RFID tag. Well, that box with all those coffee mugs could be in your read zone and could cause tag clutter. The solution to this is to use a standards-based encoding scheme. By using a standards-based encoding scheme, you can uniquely identify your items, and you can set up your reading system to filter only for your tags and to ignore tags from other applications. Standards-based encoding schemes come from two organizations, GS1 and ISO. It's a long story why there are two, but there are two. So you must pick an encoding scheme from one of these two families or organizations, GS1 or ISO. Today we're focusing on food, and probably the best, most appropriate encoding scheme to use would be DSG-TIN Plus from GS1. So we're going to be encoding, personalizing some tags with DSG-TIN Plus today. So first thing is to pick your encoding scheme. We are picking DSG-TIN Plus from GS1 today. Next slide, please. So you've picked your encoding scheme. Now you need some device to actually perform the personalization, the printing and encoding. I missed the first interesting point about these ASYGN tag chips, and that is, Stefano mentioned this, they have 192 bits of memory. Most of the useful and appropriate encoding schemes for temperature-sensitive items like DSG-TIN Plus, most of those useful encoding schemes require more tag memory than your standard RFID label will have. Your standard RFID label will have only 96 or 128 bits, but the ASYGN tag chips have 192 bits, which allows us to do useful encodings like DSG-TIN Plus. That's the first interesting point. The second interesting point is that when you pick your personalization hardware, an RFID printer in this case, you don't need to worry about any kind of special functionality in that personalization device, in the RFID printer. The tag chips from ASYGN are pre-configured by ASYGN. You do not need to send any special encoding commands or configuration commands to set up the sensor functionality. It's already set up for you. All you're going to do is encode the tags with your standard encoding scheme data. Here in this picture, you can see the RFID printer portfolio from TSC. Because you don't need a special RFID printer for this, that means that you could choose any of these RFID printer models from us and it will do the job. Okay, next slide, please. You're going to want some software to generate the personalization commands, the print job and the encoding job. Back to the fact that these assigned tag chips don't require any special configuration commands. That means that I can use an off-the-shelf label software like CodeSoft, Bartender, or Nice Label to generate my personalized, my printed and encoded tags. Today, we're going to be using Bartender, but again, we could be using CodeSoft or Nice Label. Doesn't really matter. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to take over the screen here. I'm going to show you my Bartender label design. Pull that up. Here you can see I've designed it's kind of a nonsense label in terms of the design, but the printing portion will include a QR code, which is common in this RFID food world. What I do in that QR code is that I encode in the QR code the same data that I'm putting into the RFID encoding, so that maybe I'm shipping a pack of beef to one of my customers and that customer does not have RFID yet. That's okay. They could read the QR code instead. Now, they would lose out on the benefits of RFID and they would lose out on the temperature sensor functionality, but that's why I would put a printed QR code. And then in this label design here, you can see I have an RFID object. And in that object, I'm going to be encoding DSG10 Plus for my cases of beef. And I will now stop sharing, and you should see my screen from Bartender. I'm going to print and encode 10 tags, and these will come out of my printer with the proper printed and encoded information. And as a little bonus there, you can see the nice speed that our RFID printers get. So we now have our tag, our RFID label. We're going to slap that onto the case of beef, and then Anu is going to take it over and actually make use of that wonderful information, the RFID encoding, the DSG10 Plus, and the temperature sensor information. So over to you, Anu. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Stefano. So, yeah. So we are US-based RFID systems integrator, and we have built our own software platform, which is highly customizable for web and the mobile platforms. And we also can integrate with any ERP system or any third-party system such as SAP or Oracle, IBM Maximo, and so on. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the live demonstration of the tag, what has the assigned chip, right? And I'm going to share my handheld RFID reader first and show you the mobile application. And thereafter, I will show the web application. So here, I'm going to just share my handheld RFID reader. Just a sec. Screen. Start now. So let me go back here. Sorry. Okay. So you must be seeing one screen here from the mobile app. And I got some RFID tag in front of me, which is again from us having the assigned chip. And if I scan them, right? So we have given something type to them, such as avocado, milk, or sausage. And you can see some properties or attributes about them. And it is also showing the temperature, right? And we have the color coding going on, and deliberately you are saying the one is having the red color at the bottom, 81 of Fahrenheit. But at the same time, if I click on my settings, and I can click on my read sensors data, I can change the settings as well for the color coding. So let's say if this is my red color, if I want to make it purple or whatnot, I can even change the transparency on it. And thereafter, let's say if I want to change it, make it 82, for example, I do not want to see in red color, and I save it. And if I clear this time, and if I scan it, you would see everything had become green. So it is customizable. And at the same time, the same tag, I'm going to show you, let's say I go back to the settings and I click on the read sensors data. But if I this time toggling on the relative humidity, so I have the relative humidity too, and maybe just to keep the differentiation, I'm gonna have the different color this time, right? And gonna save it. And I'm clearing it and again scanning it. And this time you are seeing the relative humidity as well along with the temperature. So ASYGN chips have many sensor capabilities along with the UHF RFID tag, and depending upon the requirements, we can do it. And in this app as well, we have some more settings such as which field I want to see it, in the first order, second order, and third order, so on. So we can have, these functionality here. And at the same time, and we have many options such as like we have the RSSI bar here. I can tell my app strong pick the strong signal or pick the weaker signal, right? So we can filter out on the basis of RSI as well. So this is one application, right? And we can send this data to the server as well. And this server again could live in the private cloud, public cloud, or it could be on-premise server itself. So I'm gonna stop sharing over here and go back here. Let's say stop sharing here. Okay. And I'm gonna look into another monitor now where I have the web application running. Let me share the web application part of it. Right. So I hope you can see it, right? So here I'm just showing you this web application where the same kind of 3 tag which I was showing in the mobile app, I'm showing in the web application. And we have again color coding going on, such as if we have uh, less than 50 degree Fahrenheit temperature. And again, we can make it Celsius or Fahrenheit, whatever, we have a global audience here. So we have the color coding the blue here, and we have the 2 in the green color line. But at the same time, I can ask my assistant over here to bring maybe some hot water or coffee to just simulate the environment that how the temperature could go up, right? I also have this auto refresh on. So every 30 seconds, right now the screen is refreshing, but we can change that thing to 15 seconds and up, a minute or so, whatever people will care about it in their application, right? So here we are trying to simulate the environment, one area where the temperature is gonna rise up, and we will see almost in the near real time, either I manually refresh it or it will be automatically updated over here, right? So if you just have some patience and this thing, so you can see here now sausage here became red in color, right? Mean the alert has come in, mean now somebody has to pay the attention. And we have also associated the web relay where the tower light is there. It can blink, it can send the email, it can send to the text as well. So here I'm gonna ask my assistant now to move this particular tag, like right now in the fresh zone A, and I'm gonna ask this person to move it to the different locations, such as in the dock location. So you can see here, it has moved to the dock, right? So if I click here, for example, so I can see that it was in the fresh zone, right? And I'm seeing the locations. And at the same time, I'm also seeing what is the dwell time, how long this tag had been dwelling in a particular location or in a particular situation. And if I leave it as like that, temperature will start keep coming down because he has removed that simulation of the hot water in the area. So that way temperature automatically will come down. The same thing goes on the, let's say the milk. If I have left, so here I have in the refrigerator itself, a small antenna right in the refrigerator, and we have a milk sitting there. So it is reading the cold environment. You can see the temperature of the milk itself, right? It's a 4.83 Celsius or 40 point some odd number of Fahrenheit, right? And we have many capabilities here. I can see from what time to what time it has been there. Like more than an hour before this webinar started, I kept in the morning. And I can see the EPC UIIA hex value over here. And these attributes, they are highly configurable. Any customer, any client, or whosoever the user of it, they can create as many fields, as many attributes it need to be. It could be 5, it could be 10. And we have many features in our web platform where people can set the alerts. If something is dwelling for more than some time, Like if you see here, if while I'm talking, I came back, so temperature has come down, right? So if I click back on the activity, you can see it is in the dark door area, but now the temperature has come down, right? So again, it is dwelling for how long in that condition. I can see that. Right. We have many other options such as, you can have the dashboard, you can have the 3D layouts or flat layouts kind of thing. You can see the data, or the data could be presented in many means. And the same way, we can format the data, we can create more fields into it, or we can configure the data differently. So here I'm going to stop my web demo here. So that way, coming back to the team, and at least people have seen it, we have the capability, a joint capability, having the assigned chips. ICs giving the sensor, we are capable of giving the sensor data. We have the capability of printing and encoding the tag, and then we have capability in utilizing in the mobile and the web application, integrating with the third-party applications as well. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to get started here on the Q&A session part of our webinar. Thank you everyone for your presentations. We have a lot of questions, so we're going to try to get through all of them. But if we aren't able to get to your question, you can reach out to us and we'll get that answered for you. So our first question today is, do you plan to implement Gen 2 v3 features as well? Is that on your map road? And that's for you, Stefano.
Yes, that's a good question. What I can say is that ASYGN we are working on the next generation of those chips. I cannot say for sure that we are working on the version 2 revision 3, generation 2 version 3, but well, we have something in our roadmap, so stay tuned.
I can tell you that you are. So I actually happen to know that. Yeah.
All right, and then our next question, do you have a firmware software for data analysis or evaluation?
I think maybe this is more for Anu. This is for evaluation. At ASYGN, we can give you some software for first evaluation without a big software capabilities. But yeah, that we can provide. But then we need Anu to implement way more specific functionalities for sure. You are on mute, Anu.
Yes, so of course, ASYGN brings the demo software utility to test out the raw data and basic some presentation of the data in the user visual format. But at the same time, we as a joint team bring more sophisticated software in the mobile apps form, or it could be the web application.
All right, and then our next question, is it possible to encode DSG10 plus on a 128 bits tag?
Is it possible to do a DSG10 plus on a 128-bit tag? So DSG10 plus and similar encodings, the so-called plus series like SG10 plus, they are variable length. And they normally range from like 140 bits to a really heavy one would be 250 bits. I think you can get it under 128 bits if your serial number is very short and numeric only. So my tentative answer is yes. But if you do that, your serial number is very limited in complexity and length.
All right, and I think this next question is also for you, Chris. Question about the printer, is it an RFID printer?
Is it an RFID printer? Yes, absolutely. So this printer right here is RFID. So when we were printing those labels, we were also encoding them with variable DSG-10 plus data. So they're coming out of the printer ready to put on your pack of beef and read the RFID data and read the temperature values.
All right. And then our next question today, in the temp sensor, does it accumulate data or just at the moment of read? Also, what costs are involved?
Okay, so temperature sensor is not accumulated into the tag. This is because it's technically not feasible without a battery. The temperature is given back when interrogated by the reader, so at inventory round, or upon read command. Cost involved. Yes, sensory chips are a bit more costly than standard RFID chip, but it really depends on the volumes and the use case.
I'd like to
Just,
comment on this
yeah.
one. So the accumulation of the sensor data, what's going to happen is that's going to be Anu's software, and he's going to have some database connected to his software. So he, in the database, will accumulate the sensor data.
Right. So we have right now our software is highly configurable, mean every second or every tenth of a second, you can interrogate the tag, get the data. And depending upon whether you want to maintain all those, hundreds of thousands or millions of reads coming, throughout the day, or you just want a particular event based. So database, yes, like what Chris is mentioning. So you'll be maintaining your database or our through our application or your by your own application where you'll be maintaining all the time series data along with the temperature.
All right. And then our next question is for you, Anu. Does the ANANTICS app run on multiple UHF RFID
Yes.
readers?
So we are reader agnostics, mean you can have any fixed reader on which it will run, and you can use any possible antenna. But since we have our great friend and partner Chris, so we want a Bluebird handheld RFID reader. I would like to promote, but the applications are again sensor agnostic, because not only we are talking about the handheld RFID reader, but we are talking about the fixed UHF RFID readers. And again, we have many OEMs and we have many, again, any antenna could be connected which can read it.
All right. And then another question, is the data affected by liquid like the jug of milk?
I mean, in my testing, it's definitely this question for ASYGN, but I'll tell you, we have put in the refrigerator. So where we have the milk, we have the Coke cans, we have some yogurt, I have some, a coconut juice or a bunch of other things, fruits. So I'm reading through that, right, in the refrigerator itself. Um, it affect? Yes, but the thing is, if the refrigerator kind of things or the cooler kind of things, there are enough bouncing of the signals happening, so it can pick it up one time. To Stefano.
And
Honestly, I'm very happy you answered, Anu, because you are the guy that put life in our chip. So your test means a lot more than what we can say. But yeah, for sure, we can read it if put on some milk or can, even metal can. If we have the right tag, we can handle it on mugs. We can sense it through the PET, through the plastic, and so on, and we are not directly affected by the liquid, no more than a standard RFID tag, I would say.
and I'm not sure if the question was specifically about the data being affected, and the answer to that is no. The data are not affected. The readability, which these guys have been talking about, is affected by the material and your environment, but the data itself, no.
All right, and then another question we have, could you explain where the sensor data is stored in the chip and how it is captured by the reader?
Okay, I can take this, but guys, please, when you want. So the data is stored in the user memory. As soon as you read the user memory, you get some data, and then it's just a mathematical formula to get the temperature or even humidity or light or any sensor is very straightforward.
In ASYGN had the data sheets on all the ICs they have it, and I can very quickly share one, or you can download from their website as well. And here quickly, I'm just sharing my other monitor screen. And if I scroll down, so here you are looking at the user memory, right? So we have the memory banks. Hold on, maybe you're not seeing it yet. Yeah, no. So this is a the we have the user memory banks, right? And this is the user memory bank, and we have the different word, and in which we have the data stored, and then we have a formula over there, which formula would be used to calculate the temperature, relative humidity in this case, or if you have a strain sensor or different kind of sensor, different formula will be utilized. But these things are readily available on ASYGN website as well. But that's how the data is if I'm scrolling back. So you can see that's where your data is living.
Then our next question, how can I get that initial evaluation of the chips and can I register somewhere? And this is for you, Stefano.
Yes. So evaluation tag, we have evaluation tags, and our partner tag makers also have sample tags we can provide you. You can just contact us through our website to the contact form, and we will software which is compatible with eBinge or Zebra or Bluebird or all the reader that you want to use.
All right, and then the next question we have, does the RFID sensor tag have a memory to store the temp readings it registers, or is the user only able to the temp at the time when the RFID chip is near the antenna?
Yes, like I was saying before, we cannot store data into the tag memory, but so you can read it in the tag memory, but it's not stored. It's just at the moment when you interrogate the tag that you have the reading.
Yeah. And I think second question was regarding the distance. So like easily like 7-10 meters, depending upon your environment. And again, type of the reader antenna you're utilizing to interrogate it. So you could read from 20-30 feet away, depending upon which antenna you are utilizing and what the environment looks like.
All right, and then another question, does the bit limit 128 bits pose a problem when storing ANSKU and serial number in an RFID chip?
I can take that one. So first up, these tags do not have 128 bits. They have 192. And the answer to the, if you're just planning on encoding your own SKU, your own serial number, that kind of information, you start with some character set like numeric only or alphanumeric, and then you need to convert each character or group of characters to bits. And yeah, if you have a 128-bit chip, you're going to be limited to using 128 bits. But again, these are 192 bits, so your limit is 192 bits. But remember, please don't just encode your own stuff. If you have questions about encoding your own stuff, contact me. My contact information is at the end, and I can show you how to take your own SKU, your own serial number, and wrap it up in a standards-based encoding so that you're playing by the rules and so you don't have tag clutter problems. I hope I answered the question.
All right, and then another question we have here is what are the temperature range that can be measured and what is the sensitivity of the chips?
Okay, temperature range is quite standard. It's minus 40 degrees C up to 125 degrees C with different precision, at least plus minus 1, but even plus minus 0.5 depending on calibration. And about sensitivity, I'm not able to answer to this question, but we'll be back with this answer.
Anu, do you happen to have the tag chip sensitivity in the data sheet there?
It's again like what Stefano is mentioning it. We have to have the calibration, right? So we know at what particular temperature range this tag is supposed to operate. So ASYGN has the different manufacturing process to calibrate their chip IC to operate, and so if you take just off just any standard tag, it may not be if you are really in the cold temperature or really high temperature may not have that much precision. But if they're calibrated perfectly fine, like I'm testing it, I'm getting 1 degree Celsius plus minus. But again, it's not highly calibrated for my environment. And if they are calibrated, they could have the half degree Celsius variable.
Then another question we have is, are there any commands to send to read the sensor data, or is it enough to do an inventory?
Yeah, normal inventory, you're doing it, and you just tell your whatever reader you are using it to get the user memory from 0 to 7 word. Like you just tell, hey, I want this user memory bank data to come. You do the normal inventory, and at the same speed, and the data just keep coming.
All right, and then another question, could the sensor chip send data in real time to a URL encoded on the chip? Say I want to read every 15 minutes over a full journey downstream.
So tag will not be doing it. Software app, either your app or our app will do that. Mean you will interrogate the data and you are free to send over MQTT, TCP, webhook, wherever you want to send this data, right? So you will get the raw read, either you process the raw read, send the data, or raw read itself, you can transport over any communication method or the protocols you utilize.
And then our last question today, what is the chip vendor's recommendation on reducing the number of tag label types to accommodate variety of SKU material types? Can you share a bit more about Q factor for antenna during tuning with your chip, sorry.
Well, this is a a big question. I don't think I'm able to answer it about the Q factor for the antenna tuning, but our support team will be happy to answer this. Um,
And it will also depend, Stefano, how many and what we are reading, right? So few other variables
yeah.
will come in the question, and that's how at the Q or A type, B type, or dual type, all the configurations properties you will set depending, knowing what you're reading, at what frequency you want to read it. You want to do the fast read, you want to have more secure, I mean, permanent kind of thing, making sure you are interrogating enough and making sure you have the proper list of your response. Like normal any RFID application for that matter, right? The same applies to ASYGN IC based tag as well.
I just want to clarify something because I think that before someone asked about sensitivity, and sensitivity on the radio link is different from precision on the temperature. There is no correlation between the RF performance and the data, the precision of the data that you obtain. The antenna is one thing, and the data reading is another thing. And I want to be very clear because I think that some other sensing method exist in other area that can use the antenna. We don't use at all our antenna to retrieve the temperature, so there is no correlation between those.
All right. And if you guys want the rest of your questions answered, you can reach out to our speakers today through the information listed on the screen. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you with any questions you have. And then if you have any questions for AIM, you can reach out through the information listed on the screen. And I wanted to thank our presenters today for giving their insights. Thank you everyone for the lots of questions. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.